Hello, everyone. It is March 5th, 2025. I'm here with Brian.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to our latest episode of our podcast where we try to figure it out so you don't have to.
Yeah, we're getting there, I think. I don't know as far as where we've gotten in the progress bar for figuring things out or if we'll ever get there, but we're certainly trying. And this week, yeah, we're just going to update a little bit about kind of the balancing of things and where we're at. I know you're missing your wife and son the last couple of weeks, Brian. Do you want to talk about that and kind of that change?
Yeah, they left me,
They
unfortunately. No, I'm
went
just
out
kidding.
for milk, and your son went out for cigarettes and hasn't been back.
Yeah, then my wife kind of, happens to you once, shame on you. Happens to me twice, shame on you again. Okay. Little George Bush reference for the folks who are younger generation. Yeah, they went on vacation like 2 weeks ago, so they'll be back this Sunday. But it's been hard, just going to work, uh, waking up, having to be responsible for my own meals. It's hard enough being responsible for wiping my own ass. I guess I'm a bit of a man child at times, so uh, it kind of took me out of my routine a little bit. It's like wake up, watch my wife turn her alarm clock off for like the 17th time, shower, go to work, come back, pick up my son, play with him, keep him busy until my wife gets home, then dinner, and, get the ball rolling and try to have enough energy to stay awake past 9 o'clock at night. So it's been tough, but, also on the flip side of that, I've been able to play a shitload of video games, like just putting in all amount of hours into Madden. Um, that's what I felt like playing lately. I guess I'm just like ramping up for next week for the league year to start. You know, Winning championships with the Lions like they should have this season, but still not salty about that. I promise. And hanging out with friends, like I went and saw Winter Soldier, or I'm sorry, the Captain America 4. It
Yeah, how was
was
that?
it was okay. It wasn't good. It wasn't great. It felt like old school Marvel a bit. As Anthony Mackie calls it, classic before kind of Endgame. It was, I think, like an hour and 40 minutes, so it was pretty short. Kind of saved their budget for big action pieces. There wasn't really anything, I don't know, new that they added to the lore or anything. Obviously, there's you know a character who kind of makes a big appearance. Won't spoil that. But it wasn't really anything you weren't expecting. So overall, good movie. I give it like a 6 out of 10. Good popcorn movie.
Yeah, like just one of those classic action movies that maybe the critics don't enjoy as much, but general audiences should be able to enjoy it.
Yeah, for sure. And again, it's not anything to. It's not like some of the movies that won the Oscars this past week. It's not like The Brutalist, right? There's no sort of undertones or theme that they're sticking to. It's kind of just a generic action movie. So, um, and then this weekend I'm going to a comedy show in Pontiac, which is about 20 minutes from my house. It's a favorite comedy duo. It's called Are You Garbage? You can follow them on Spotify or YouTube. They got plenty of comedy specials and podcast episodes out, but just a good time. They play Are You Garbage kind of live with the crowd. So it's kind of an interactive comedy show at times. And then I'm also playing Magic the Gathering with some friends on Sunday. So,
Nice.
yeah, keeping busy. That's what's been kind of keeping my normal normal amount of depression away. So, missing them. But what's new
Yeah,
with you,
so is
David?
that well, has that kind of changed? So as far as balance and like the goals that you have, so now with having more free time, I think you had mentioned before that you were like really busy and you were just taking time to kind of decompress. But has that affected, like, I know you still have some freelance stuff that you're working on and your weight loss stuff. So with making your own meals and kind of like work, are you still balancing that in there, or has it gotten to has it kind of just thrown you out of whack of the normal routine? So it's been harder to stay on task.
Yeah, the first like week or so I was pretty busy, so I was able to keep myself on task. But this like last week or so, I've maybe last 5 days really, I've kind of just hung out on the couch for what felt like all day Saturday. Went to a roller derby tournament. That was kind of cool. Uh,
Roller derby tournament.
yeah, it was, or sorry,
Okay.
not a tournament, but like a game. My coworkers skates for Flint. They don't have like a mascot or anything like that, but it was a eye opening experience. It's kind of an underwhelming term. I would actually use beautifully chaotic. Like I didn't know what was going on. I'm pretty good at picking up on like sports terms, plays. This had no idea what was going on. It was kind of like seeing a UFO. Like I can't really describe what I saw. Maybe no one will even believe me that I actually went and did it. Much like a UFO. But uh, if you do have a chance to go to some local derby tournament or game, go do it. It's a fun time. You could do worse things with $10.
Yeah, I didn't even know those still existed. I thought that was always like a 1960s type deal.
Yeah, it's kind of starting to get popular. I mean, I know there's that Elliot Page movie that came out. I think it was like Whiplash or something Lash. It's like it was filmed.
Whiplash is the J.K. Simmons, Miles Teller movie.
Oh yeah, I'll look it up. But yeah, it's I think they kind of reinvigorated Derby in some fashion. It's kind of like a underground now, almost. Like it kind of feels like old school wrestling. Like she carries like physical tickets on her at all times. I think she gets a commission for doing it. All the money, or the majority of the money that they all get back, just really goes back into the Derby team itself. Like they do fundraisers all the time, but it's in a literal roller rink. It's not like it's at like the Palace or LCA or anything like that.
Well, it's
Uh,
not. It's not where you go. Like a skating rink, like roller skating rink. It's not the same as that because they have a track that they have to follow, right?
they just, from what I saw, they already had that at that particular skating rink. But if they were to do like like an actual one, I'm sure they would just probably tape it off. Um, so
Yeah.
I guess there's some amount of interest in the Flint area for roller derby because it was actually imprinted on the rink itself.
Yeah. Well, that goes back to what we had talked about before with going to different events that might not cost a lot or just new experiences, and kind of just being open to new experiences because they're going to cost you less. There's the whole thing with the Lions tickets right now and the price raises and them getting rid of people that hadn't been to games in however many years. And there are people that had season tickets since the 90s. And I remember like the story of a guy that had 8 season tickets in one row, but he would sell them to be able to get enough money to buy himself like premium seats at the 50-yard line. And they had got rid of him, even though the Lions work with Ticketmaster and ticket brokerages to sell seats to them, which they then sell to other people. But they just don't want just regular people being able to do that, which is crazy. But that just kind of comes back to the whole thing with the supply and demand of, yeah, now the team's good. Now people want to come and watch. We sell out all the time. So we can really dictate who is allowed to have season tickets. Instead, you could go to a soccer game, you can go to roller derby or a comedy show or whatever else, and you don't have to worry about it as much because they're just appreciative that people show up and support them.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, with so my roller derby ticket was $10. Or otherwise it would have been like 12 at the door, or it's 12, or I'm sorry, it was $12, and then it would be 15 at the door. But even with my and then with the comedy shows, it's like $48 after fees. So I spent about $52 on two different events, right? Like, I mean, that's not even enough to get you in the door at most major sporting events. You might be able to get like NBA or NHL, maybe some of the, or I guess maybe a baseball game. But my point is that I'm able to do multiple things for right around $50, not including any other expenses. That's almost unheard of. So,
Yeah, and our mutual friend Swadley, I had convinced him to go to this hardcore show last Friday, which I ended up having to skip because working that painting job. But he went, and I got kind of his takeaways from it because there was one band he really wanted to see, and he saw them, and he thought they were great. And what's interesting is like when you go there, you don't really know what kind of crowd that you're going to get. So he had called it the crop, and he's like, the crop there was kind of weird because you don't know. There's one Corn, Slipknot, like you kind of know what you're getting into. Kind of the people that seem to have lived in their parents' basement their entire lives. So that's how I would. It's hard to visualize, but yeah, those are the type of people that frequent those shows. Like have been fans for however long, but with different bands or different styles of music, especially like up and coming artists in a specific genre, it's very hit or miss as to what crop of people that you're going to get to show up because there's like a different group of people that show up for most of the death metal shows that come around. So there's going to be different ones for hardcore bands that are coming around and are coming up. And yeah, it's just interesting because we're going to see Poppy here in a few weeks. And she had just released more of a metal album. So it'll be interesting for we show up and what kind of crop of people that are going to be there. So sometimes it's not even about the show. Sometimes it's, the people watching, and that can be part of it too. So just having those shared experiences or just going out by yourself and doing these things, like, yeah, instead you would have been doing what? Sitting at home playing Madden. Like, there's always going to be times for decompressing and kind of taking time for yourself, which I do agree is important, especially when you're overworked and what have you. I mean, especially with me and the last couple of weeks just being so busy that I've kind of neglected some of the goals that I had or the goals that I did set for myself, especially with the standing desk and walking pad, like getting 10,000 steps in a day. I'd been able to accomplish that. Problem is sometimes with the painting job, I left my phone out of my pocket, so I wasn't tracking my steps. And then you open it up, and it's pretty deflating because you don't have that sense of like that tracking, that sense of accomplishment you get because your phone wasn't tracking your steps to be able to account for your goals. And yeah, it's a whole thing. But just the last weekend, our mutual friend Eric, or I don't know if you would consider him a friend, but he's my friend.
I like Eric. He said he wanted to be my friend. Maybe he said that as just to be nice. But I like Eric. Got
Yeah,
nothing against the guy.
but yeah, signed us up for this job. It was taking a lot longer than we initially anticipated. So kind of had to put in some overtime over the weekend. So I think it was about 24 hours between Friday, Saturday, and Sunday altogether, just doing that. So the last Monday and Tuesday, I was like pretty tired to the point where not even, well, physically, obviously, but also mentally. And it was weird. I came back home and I look and there's a piece of molding that had like paint scuffed up on it. I'm like, oh fuck, I gotta make a note of this. I gotta come back and fix this. Like client's gonna be pissed. Like my mind had just been molded into like work mode and I had become a painter for an entire weekend. And but it was a lot of fun. I mean, I've seen a tweet before where someone's like they should have jobs where it's 4 hours of coding and then 4 hours of packing boxes. Like that's kind of what I was getting into with the on Friday, especially doing my work, emails, chat messages, Excel, looking at data, and then drive to the site and I'm scrubbing walls. And next, you're just playing music and you look up, and next thing you know, it's 9 o'clock. It's time to go. Like,
Little
it's,
left brain, little right brain action. Works both sides of it, right?
yeah, I guess, and coming up with different solutions to the problems that you face, like how we had talked about either last week or the week before, is kind of the knowledge and experience that you have when you do things. But when you first start out, it's like, okay, well, we didn't think about this, we didn't account for that. And you have to think about, okay, what's the next step? What do we want to do next? Or how do we solve this problem? Who's going to solve it? Well, somebody else is working. How do we, So it's a lot of like good communication instead of being in an office where I'm waiting on an email from an external partner, or I'm having a meeting with somebody that's in California. It's like everyone that's there in the moment, you're working together. If you have a question, you can ask right away, or you're wondering what to do next. You just kind of huddle together and bounce ideas off each other, and then you go and get it done. So, yeah, I mean, I wouldn't mind doing that more often, but I can definitely see like kind of the wear and tear that happens from doing that for however many years. Because Eric's dad was there with us, Keith, and he had been a painter for ever.
Mm.
So like I can tell like he probably doesn't like he probably wasn't having as much fun as we usually do. He probably just thought it was just another job that he had to do. But yeah, I quite enjoyed it. So that's the other thing about like these experiences and whatnot. I wouldn't agree to help people move because that sucks.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
I have agreed to do it before, but if you're like, hey, we're painting, if you want to come help out, we'll order pizza, get beer. I'm like, yeah, fuck yeah.
yeah. Pizza and beer is definitely worth painting, right? I mean, especially because like
Yeah.
I find myself whenever I paint, I always like find muscles that are sore, so it's like, oh, cool, I need to work that out at the gym next time.
I'm telling you, when I went to the golf simulator league yesterday, and like the bottom of my lats from like going up and down with the roller like this were sore.
Yeah,
I do lat pull downs all the time, but I guess I wasn't getting deep down enough to the point where I could paint for however long that I had to over the weekend.
yeah.
But
Do
I
the.
think the
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
no, I think yeah, pizza and beer is proper payment for painting. Moving, like, no, you're going to have to pay me.
Yeah, it's like the meme, right? Like if you're in the 30s and moving, just pay for a moving company. A slip disc is not worth pizza and beer.
No, it's not. And that's, inflation, physical inflation, because the wear and tear I'm having to put on my body. Like, why do you have 12 dressers that we need to move? Why are they all up 2 flights of stairs?
Yeah,
Like, what do you have? Why is this one particular piece of furniture so goddamn heavy and so goddamn large, and we need to move it? Like, no, I'm not doing that. Give me a fucking box of clothes. I'll put it in the moving van. Like, I'm not helping you get a couch and have to pivot it around some stairs to get it out the door. Like, I would never ask anyone else to do that. I would feel way too bad without actually paying them to do it. Like, because I'm not doing it for pizza and beer.
yeah, for sure. I always like I'm a bigger guy. It doesn't mean I'm like the strongest person in the guy. So like I'm always like the first up to be volunteered to help someone move in my family. I'm like, fuck off. Like I have way better things to do with my time. Also,
Yeah,
like in my direct family or whatever immediate family, like call or text me an email so I can deny you. Like I'm not doing it.
yeah, yeah. Or
Like
like
I'm
getting signed up to do things. Like, no, there's no chance.
yeah, like putting the boundary, the mental part of it, mental health part of it. Like I just don't want to do it. Like I'll help my mom and dad out. They don't live far from me. Like I'll help my brother out. But like if you're like my first, even if you're my first cousin, it's gonna be that's a no for me, big dog. Like not worth it for me.
And I feel for like the truck guys too. To be around, it's like, oh yeah, Brian's got a truck. Yeah, he can come help us out. It's like, Yeah, maybe I'll come drop the truck off. Like we can switch cars if you want, but I'm not sticking around to do this shit.
Yeah, yeah. I I didn't even think of that when I like leased my truck. It wasn't until after people started asking me. I'm like, no, this is this badge just for show. It doesn't actually do anything. In fact, it's probably safer if you just rent a truck.
Yeah, yeah. Cars nowadays, I mean, probably not even built to be able to handle that shit. It's like, nope, I'm kind of at my mileage already, and you know, my suspension's pretty shitty.
They just don't make them like they used to. Unfortunately, it's kind of just a glorified sedan. So, sorry about that.
Right.
Um,
Yeah, I guess back to what we were talking about. The Yeah, I'm starting to being present a little bit more, but it's also kind of made me a little bit more emotional about things, and which I think is good. Uh, Not as stoic, in conversations, like not avoiding kind of conflict or arguing in that sense. And between the painting thing, that kind of threw a whole wrench in more of my physical activity. So I didn't get my steps in Saturday and Sunday, but it's all right because I know I was the one playing music. I had my phone on my pocket. That's fine. And then Monday and Tuesday of this week, I didn't get my steps in either, but that was just because I was recovering. Like my feet were cold because of how swollen my legs were, that they were cutting. I felt like they were cutting off circulation in my feet. And,
Dang,
you know, I need a, instead of a bed and breakfast, it was a rotten bed and breakfast from McDonald's for me. And that's what I needed. So maybe that's the next business idea. People that overwork themselves go and do, go to one of those places. But yeah, I mean, I haven't been to the gym in a few weeks. I was recovering from being sick, and then the last couple of weeks, job, something got screwed up. So having to dig down and figure out the issues that were coming from that. So yeah, I mean, it's not always like, oh, getting down on myself because I didn't get all my steps, or I haven't gone to the gym. Life gets in the way, and not to say like to continue making excuses like that, because I'm not one to like making excuses, but sometimes it just happens. Sometimes it's good for you to rot in bed and get McDonald's because you don't want to go to the grocery store because you don't really have the energy after you've been brain dead from painting for so long and being overworked and whatnot. So, like, self love and care also comes into play with that.
yeah, you need time to yourself to wind down. I think we talked about this earlier. It's just everyone needs downtime. And taking a day, afternoon, or just a couple hours, couple of minutes, just to kind of like reset yourself goes a long way. So yeah, I wouldn't feel bad. I just need to get back into your routine after maybe start Monday, right? Set a goal for going back to the gym on like a Monday or something, or even if you just go for 15 minutes or 20 minutes at the end of the week, at least you're kind of getting back into it. Um, it's kind of what I've been doing, waiting for my wife and son to get back home. Cleaned up the house a bit. Um, and we're getting some new toilets installed this week. So, trying to get back into reentry into life. So I
You're
get
getting
it.
one of those fancy Japanese toilets.
One is a Toto. It's not a higher end Toto. It's an Ultramax 2, which, I'm sure one of our 15 listeners, if you're a plumber, you know what? It's still pretty good. And then eventually I'll order a bidet for it. So, going full tater, as the bourbon community would call us, with my toilet. I want to get like every accessory you can think of. I'm obsessed.
I'll tell you this: bidet is probably a top five purchase of mine of all time. Like, it is far and away. It's paid for itself already, time and time again. Like, sometimes, going in there, and it's like I'm wiping a clay pot. I'll go through half a thing of fucking toilet paper sometimes, dude. It's bad.
Yeah,
And
it's
I
like
know I got
wiping a
to get,
marker.
yeah, wiping a marker, wiping a clay pot, like just crazy. But I know that has a little bit more to do with my diet and I should focus on that. But one thing at a time, like it is just, four slices of toilet paper and done. Donezo. Like it is great. So anyone listening, I'd highly, highly recommend getting a bidet. Like don't knock it till you try it.
Yeah, I tried one when I tried one. Like I said, like I just like go up and down Home Depot. But uh, my first
You're
experience,
spreading your cheeks in Home Depot. And
dude, that's why I'm banned from Home Depot. Didn't I tell you that? No, I'm kidding. Um, I would just go. I had to really go to the bathroom, so I just used the sample toilets on the floor. I
yeah,
got escorted. I got escorted like Arnold Schwarzenegger and
what did I do wrong?
what
What
the
the
fuck
fuck?
did I do wrong? What is that movie? Oh, Total Recall. Yeah, like
Yeah,
it's like being escorted by security. Um, but yeah, the first experience with a bidet, and it was Toto, was at a hotel in Hawaii. It's a very nice Hilton. Uh, and this Toto toilet, like I wanted to rip it out of the wall. I was in love. Like it did all the things that really did it for me. So it's been on my in the back of my head. Like when I was gonna buy a home, I was gonna get a bidet, but homes are much more expensive. So it's taken me this long to get to that point, but I'm excited, and I kind of feel a little bit elitist when it comes to toilet now that I own Toto. Like my cheeks won't touch anything else, so I just have to hold off poop until I get home.
you're on vacation in Florida or something. Just like, nope, that's enough for me. I can't do this anywhere except my house. But it is for me too. Like if I go out somewhere and we stay in the night or we go on a bachelor party or destination wedding or something, it's like, man, I just maybe a travel bidet or something because it is added so much more to the experience. And I, live with my mom and I had one installed in like my bathroom because she has the master bedroom that has her own bathroom attached to it. And she has a Halloween party every year for our family. And I was gone doing something, and came back and she's like, if I had to hear one more fucking word about that bidet, I was gonna lose it. It's like everyone loved it. And I'm like, I don't. It's kind of weird too. It's like I don't. Because I clean it obviously, and cleaned it before I used it after people had been over. But yeah, it's just kind of weird. It's like feel violated because of other people using it.
Yeah, that.
It's like, oh yeah, Dave, yeah, great pocket pussy, man. That was a great purchase. Like, what? What are you talk? What? Huh?
David, are you getting insecure because your toilet was seeing other people? Did you ask if it was dating a black guy?
No, it wasn't about that. It was just, I don't know. It's a stream of water cleaning shit off people. Like,
No, no, I know. Bad joke, I guess. But yeah, I don't even know where we were going with this. I'm completely lost because now all I'm thinking about is going up and using a bidet.
we're just talking about balance in the sense you do more in one area. It might you might revert in some other areas. So it's not exactly like always taking a step forward. Like with me, there's and being present to these things with, I'm drinking more like diet soda instead of just water. I'm drinking more coffee. The last few days, eating more fast food
Hmm.
instead of actually going to the grocery store because I haven't taken the time. I got laundry piling up in that. So I'd like to do is start scheduling out things to do the next day or like, you know, plan for it for the day, but try to get it done for the week, before the start of next week or something. But yeah, so just having less energy to kind of do things. And now I'm dealing with the repercussions of that. But instead, like I didn't have the mental capacity to play video games, but I'd been reading still walking on my walking pad a little bit. My dog's been sick. So having to clean up after him, making sure he's eating, making sure he goes out and uses the bathroom a lot because he's been having like stomach issues and haven't been able to take him for a walk, which is how I get some of my other steps in. Like, yeah, you can always plan for things, but you're going to have to adapt as you go along the way because one, shit happens that's outside of your control. And two, the things that you are trying to work on and things that you're trying to accomplish, there's going to show up in bad habits in other areas. You'll revert back to, if you're exercising more, you might revert back to eating unhealthier, or if you try to eat healthier, you might not be, you're spending more time cooking, so that time spent doing that is going to take away from some other things. So there's just a ton of examples. So just trying to put some more emphasis on that.
Yeah, it's all like you said. It's all about finding the right balance for yourself. Like, I think even when I meal prep, you know, I don't have the greatest knife skills. I'm not bad, but like sometimes I'll cut an onion kind of funky. So sometimes I'll get like chopped onions from like Kroger or whatever just to save a little bit of time. I mean, realistically, I probably save 5 or 10 minutes doing that, but you know, sometimes it's worth to pay that a little extra cost for the convenience of it on some things. But I know that that's something I don't exactly enjoy doing. I'm still getting better, but uh, you know, but meal prep and really just trying to find balance in anything is always going to be tricky and it's going to be different for everybody.
Of
Um,
course.
like for me right now, it's like I said was I kind of had like the we'll say bachelor kind of 4 or 5 days, even longer, where I was just really wasn't doing anything. I was eating fast food, which I definitely should not be, but I I didn't really feel like cooking for myself. I just really wanted to go from like watching Black Hawk Down to like the kitchen, throw something in the microwave, and be done. And that's exactly what I did yesterday. But uh, yeah, it like I said, I'm kind of doing a re-entry point into this atmosphere. So um, the toilets are getting installed tomorrow, so that'll be kind of nice. I'll spend Friday probably cleaning up the house, and then Saturday it's kind of full of activities. So really my last little hurrah, I guess, of uh, having the free time, and then Sunday it's just kind of waiting for them to get home, and that's when, for lack of a better term, life starts again. I come back on vacation. We're already planning a new vacation for July, so I have that to kind of look forward to. But that'll be my first vacation in 3 years.
Really?
Yeah, between just really having a lot of kind of credit card debt I've been paying off this last year to finishing a boot camp or PTO, I just haven't been able to go in 3 years.
Yeah. Credit card debt's a killer. I know a lot of people deal with that and the kind of predatory APR rates that they have. So yeah, it's good that you got rid of the debt and now like putting money aside for vacations and that. What are you guys thinking?
Myrtle Beach. I've never been. I've been to North Carolina, but I've never been to South Carolina. So
Hmm.
um, I know Myrtle Beach can tend to be get overcrowded, especially in like when it's really nice out, like summer, springtime. So we might look. I think it's like Charleston is the next biggest destination in South Carolina, but we're really just looking for somewhere in the south. That's got plenty of beach and enough room for it's about 10 of us going. So um, yeah, but until then, yeah, it's just kind of getting back to the everyday life. So I'll probably also plan on going grocery shopping. I haven't done that since they've left. Really, it's kind of just been. I was pretty well stocked to begin with, but there are times where I'd be like, I have this rotisserie chicken in the fridge and I don't feel like eating it. I'm going to go to McDonald's and get a McChicken because that makes sense. heavy on the sarcasm.
No more laying on the couch watching military movies with your hands in your pants, deciding which fast food restaurant to go to. You got to get back to your big boy responsibilities come Sunday. Just get it
You
in while
sir,
you can.
yeah, you sir make too many assumptions on my hand. That would be imply that I had pants on to begin with. I was Winnie Poohing it the whole time, but
Oh,
I'm
I
joking.
can't do that.
I'm joking. I can't. I'm not doing
But
that. But
yeah, that's like a different class of people to have a shirt on and nothing underneath because I need to have something below my waist on at all times. Like I'll walk shirtless around, sure, but I don't know who the fuck's been doing that. It yeah,
yeah, it's very Buffalo Bill like. Yeah, it's
like tucking it between my legs.
some yeah, looking forward to that. Some progress on me. My wife's business, as far as like my side business, I'll lead it with this. My wife's side business, which she's a baker, she primarily does cupcakes and wedding cakes, sheet cakes, that kind of thing. Um, Occasional brownie, but her business has taken off like clockwork. So I've actually kind of taken a step back on my own. I know that I had a sales goal of about $12,000. I think I'm going to kind of reevaluate that now. I mean, I know it's only March, but um, kind of focusing on building up her website. We kind of just had I built like a basic landing page style. Um, but I mean, she already has 4 or 5 cupcake orders for the week that she gets back. So, and she's almost getting to the point where that's like a part time, more than a part time job. I mean, and I get to work on my marketing skills a bit with that. Um, and we're gonna kind of go full court press on that, I think. So, be putting more time and energy into that rather than freelance web building. Um, I haven't put as much time into that marketing wise just because I'm still kind of backlogged on projects.
Yeah,
So I think by the end of this, which is end of this month, is actually my birthday. I should be completely caught up on that. You know, going from April 1st to like March 27th, so about a year old. I think I've had 23. I have 23 freelance projects, with about 60% of that being paid. So, um, yeah, sometimes you just got to swallow your ego a bit, and just play support. I mean, it's either way, it's revenue for us. But my wife is far ahead of me in doing that, and just to have that like work life balance, with my son and family, like you know, we can't both be working part time jobs. I make good enough money where I can pay my bills and pay down my credit card debt and still be fine. So, um,
order a nice toilet. Yeah,
well, I work for a plumbing supply. That helps, but yeah. And hey, I had to buy a new PC. That wasn't cheap. My
right.
my other, you know, PC was dying. It just couldn't handle the equipment that I had. That's what she said. Um, but yeah, that's kind of
No,
like
it's
progress. As far as what I had set from the beginning of the year.
right. Well, that plays into kind of what we were saying, right? You make these plans and you have to adapt as you go along. So I don't think it's anything wrong with doing it. It's just kind of like how you spend your time during the day, and that's how buying the walking pad, using the standing desk more. It's like I haven't gone to the gym, but the amount of time during the day that I've been sedentary has gone down. So it's not like I'm not going to the gym and not doing anything else. It's that some of the time that I spend during the day is now focused on other things, and my body needs to adapt to have me be standing a lot of the time or walking because I believe it's kind of weird with the calorie science because it comes down to how much you weigh, your height, like how much muscle you have, how much fat that you have. but I think it comes down to like 0.15 extra calories between standing and sitting each minute burned. So an extra 0.15 for each minute. So I can't do the math in my head for that, but it's definitely a lot more calories burned throughout the day between sitting and standing, and then you add in the walking on top of it. So 10,000 steps, which is a pretty good goal for a lot of people. At the mile per hour that I do is just 1 mile per hour on the walking pad, comes out to be about 2 hours. So I used to be a really big physical book guy, but now with like trying to find something to do when I'm walking, I stand my iPad up like right here, and I'm just like, so, standing over top of it, posture's killing, like terrible posture, whatever. We'll fix it some other time, but that's kind of become some way so I can get reading in as well as walking. And I did finish. I think I've had see my second or my third book finished this year because I don't remember if I started Fairy Tale before the end of the year, but I think I started in January. So I've got 3 books down this year. It's not that it's a goal of mine to finish a certain amount of books, but more or less that I'm spending more time reading than I would be watching TikToks or YouTube videos. And also, like, TikTok has taken over a lot of my time, kind of killed my productivity. But I don't care so much about my work and what I do, so I don't want to be as effective as I possibly can. But then therein lies the problem of like dress for the job you want, not the job that you have. And I think that kind of plays into your demeanor at work and how efficient and how much work you want to actually get done instead of just being kind of lazy and letting things slip through the cracks. Like, I think I need to continue to be more detail oriented, but kind of similar to how we had said before with your defense mechanisms or what you learned growing up can actually be more detrimental as you get older. And starting to realize like I'm not as trustworthy as a person when it comes to doing things like planning events or whatnot. Like, I turned 30 in May, and like I am planning my own birthday party. The golf trip that we take every year is planned by me. Like, there's a lot of things that I do. I showed up to the party on Saturday, and like I'm also such a fucking observant person, dude. It annoys the shit out of me, but I show up and it's like we don't have any like actual food. Like, we have dessert stuff and like dips. So I'm just ordering pizza, and that's $60 just like gone to order this pizza. But I don't know. I mean, it's like trying to be more present, but instead of being overstimulated with video games, YouTube, like whatever else I'm doing, once work gets done, I'm like overstimulating myself just during the day, trying to pay more attention, be more present, having to understand like more of what people are asking me to do while I'm at work, taking time to actually give out responses, and then paying attention like around my friends and everything. So yeah, it's always an adjustment. As much as you don't want it to be, I just don't want to be one of the people that are just stagnant. And especially with the current job market, the AI stuff, you really need to be able to adapt. And it's tough for a lot of people right now that have been trying to do these things, still can't find a job, but just gotta kind of be on the forefront of anything, I guess, and trying to be proactive about learning as much as you can as you're still working and having other shit to deal with every day.
Yeah, I talked about this with a friend last night, who's kind of in a similar situation. Although they are they've been unemployed for 10 months, and they just started working or at an not an LA Fitness, Lifetime Fit. He started working at Lifetime Fitness as a concierge. I mean, a gym membership there, at least in Michigan, is like $200. So he gets that for free, and he's making like $20 an hour. But um, he's been unemployed for 10 months, and his biggest issue was trying to just get out of his own way. He said he experienced heavy amounts of anxiety. Just going through depression, and he didn't really spend as much time. Uh, he felt as like putting in to like learning and like leveling up your skills. Um, but I think a lot of that had to do just with just depression because I went through the same thing when I was unemployed. Like I didn't really feel like doing anything. Like I was like I feel like I'm good at what I do, but to be honest, there's always something new you can learn if you have a strong base, right? Like we went to school for like programs like JavaScript and React, where I really don't even use those necessarily on an everyday basis, but I think just practicing your fundamentals, and this goes for anything in life. I mean, form for like weightlifting, just working on the very foundational skills that you were taught will go a long way to be able to make versatile skill set. Um, I believe that in job, I believe that in life. So, um, and it also kind of helps you, like you were talking about earlier, was working both sides of your brain, whether it's painting and then coding or whatever. Like working a spreadsheet and then trying to get your second coat on of that gloss or semi gloss. So I think for him, getting back to my friend, I think like him having a job where he's got to be social, he's kind of got to get used to that again because he's been mostly like a cat dad for the last 10 months. And I think for him, it was just like building momentum, really, getting a job where he's being social and he kind of has to be like out of his comfort zone. And that's going to like help him do like freelancing or just like learning new skills for coding, and he's bringing in revenue or an income in the meantime, not as much as nearly as he was making, but it's something to pay the bills. And then, you build up your skills on learning, and hopefully he'll be able to land, something a little bit better soon. But yeah, my
Yeah,
advice with him was just kind of just build on his foundation.
yeah, you know, and focus on the things that you have control over, because sometimes some things you don't, and it is hard. I really feel like you got into the system where other people determine your worth based on a sheet of paper, and that's it. You're competing against other people's sheets of paper, and they're determining whether or not you're worth more than that other person based on that sheet of paper to begin with, and then throughout the interviews and what have you. So, yeah, it is tough. And it's easy to sit here and say, well, you just got to keep going or you need to do this. People have responsibilities, they have mortgages, bills, kids, and whatnot, and they're unemployed right now. So I do think there really needs to be something that's done, one, for people that work any job, no matter what they're doing. To, if you work 40 hours a week, you should be able to own a home, be able to pay your bills, be able to have children, and not have to worry constantly that you're not going to have enough. Two, jobs need to, where I'm working at right now, we're so short staffed, but they won't hire anybody. And I think that's kind of the same across the board for all these other companies, kind of like the expected recession that they're now forcing because they don't want to hire anybody. And how long is it actually going to take to build things back up again? Because I think the kind of common thought right now is that they're trying to increase efficiency by downsizing and forcing the people that are still there into being overworked. So you got a bunch of people that are out of work right now. You got a bunch of people that are being overworked, underpaid. It's just bad. And if I actually had a good enough idea, like I think I would do things differently, start my own company, hire some of these people and build it out. And obviously you're going to deal with road bumps in that along the way, maybe hiring the wrong person, but I think the at the end of the day, feeling good about, if you have a successful business and you pay people well and they respect you, and that's giving them kind of a purpose, a way to spend that money, because, or spend that time to make that money, because yeah, if you were working before and you were getting up at 6, 7, 8 o'clock in the morning and going and doing something for that amount of time and then coming back home, it's a lot harder to fill in that time when it's not structured in a way. Like you could be doing anything, but you also don't want to do something because you don't have the money to be able to do it. And yeah, I mean, it's just tough. And I kind of came to the decision, like I got rid of my Amazon Prime subscription. I got rid of all my streaming service subscriptions. Need to work out a way to cut down on Spotify. Every time I get that notification every month, it pisses me off even more. Like we have to, I think we have to revert back to stop being so consumerist in some of these areas, especially streaming, social media, and what have you, and just the amount of data and money that they extract from us each month to be able to use these services. And Netflix just announced, I think, another or another price increase. So it's like, yeah,
Uh,
we just, yeah, just get rid of it. I had looked up the other day about gardening, like gardening tips in Michigan, like when to start planting things. Maybe eventually we'll look into some chickens because the egg shortage, whatever, is terrible. And yeah, I mean, it's just affecting so many people's lives. The tariffs, uh, stock market, 401ks being down, people that were planning on retiring. Like, we're getting to that point now. And I think the billionaires are trying to take back that power that they lost from COVID. And I mean, it's been happening since, the end of 2021 with the layoffs and what have you. But how is it like Mark Zuckerberg can spend 40, 50, 60 billion dollars on the metaverse and then come back around and make all these decisions and get rid of a bunch of people? Like, there really needs to be more regulations as to who you can fire, how many times you can fire somebody, and our reliance now on the stock market with 401ks and people investing in general, because the thought is that Social Security we pay into, but we're never going to see that money because by the time it'll be gone by the time we get up to that age. So it's really given public companies like so much more leadway to kind of do whatever they want, and has increased the amount of billionaires that we have, and thus has increased their power over our uh, elected officials. They don't care as much about us as the lobbyist that's paying them to have their their second vacation house somewhere.
yeah, I agree with all of that. As a father, wife, sorry, not wife, husband. There you go. Uh, it's it's hard not to get um, scared, sad about the situation. Especially because it's out of our control. And I always preach to myself and to my wife, like, we can only worry about the things that we can control, but it's hard. We're comfortable, but, if some major event would happen, like, we don't have the money saved. It's just been a hard last 4 or 5 years for us financially. Like, I've been going back to school, or I went back to school being a coding boot camp, and I leveled up my salary. I'm not gonna feel sorry for that, but at the same time, like, cost of living is also starting to catch up with that too. So it's almost like going back to the salary that I had before I started going back to, got into tech or got a new job, right? So, um, I don't really have an opinion on the stock market or all the regulations that should probably come. Um, I hope they do something that's in the favor of the middle class, because we keep getting, screwed over and over again. I don't see myself, you know, either hitting the lottery or thinking of some crazy tech unless, there's a crazy in demand for baking, right? Like, there's just going to be a surge of people getting married and they need a wedding cake. So it's just doing what you can control, and not easier said than done worrying about the things you can't control, right? So, like I said, trying to get more money in my wife's and I's account, and that's what I can focus on. More money, hopefully less problems.
Yeah. Well, it's like you focus on the things that you can control and plan for things that you can't, right? So cost of eggs probably affected the baking business. And
Oh yeah,
if the
yep.
amount of people being laid off is probably going to affect the business as well. It's less people that are willing to pay for cupcakes or sheet cakes or wedding cakes, like less people having weddings or scaling back on what they're spending money on to have these weddings. So, yeah, I mean, it is just kind of the overall macroeconomic factors of these decisions and kind of where we have been heading to for however long. We're paying all these taxes, we're not really getting help, not from the government, not from companies that view you as disposable anytime they want to. And yeah, it brings a lot of people down. And I know even in the coding boot camp, we had people in there that were unemployed and having the hope to gain this knowledge to find a job. And then that entire part of companies kind of just went under, and they've either fired a bunch of people or are not hiring anybody on. They don't want to take on junior developers to do these things. Like, just tough. And that's, one of the things we can't control is how they view you as a prospect to be able to bring in their companies. And yeah, I think cutting down on the amount of interviews you're able to give too is another indicator. Because what have I had? Two separate companies where I made the final interview after three previous rounds of interviews. I'm in the fourth round of the final interview, the fourth interview, and still didn't get the job. It was like, why am I even brought into the final interview if there were questions about these things? Like, am I just being used as a fucking guinea pig for them to gain more experience and how to accurately hire somebody? Like, I don't know. But yeah, more needs to be done. Trying to
Yeah,
get. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, yeah, it can certainly feel that way. Like you're kind of just being like the guinea pig for the the real life training model, if you will. For sometimes it always seems to be like some sort of disconnect between HR recruiters and like the actual hiring manager about like candidates, right? Like the hiring manager is like, no, we're strictly looking for this. Well, if somebody interviews really well with a recruiter, they're gonna push that person too. So there's some sort of internal external politics involved, and in an economy like this, it's really not fair to all parties involved for to be that process. It shouldn't be this overcomplicated to hire a person. We all have the technology and resources to identify good candidates. So if you want to make it about culture and a mix of skills, then do that. But trying to find like the perfect candidate is, I think, setting a lot of people up for failure, in my opinion. Um, and kind of going back to, um, going and taking the boot camp and expecting to level up. It's like the first we started in 2022 at the tail end of it, where it's like it felt like every company was still hiring for developers. It's like that's why I signed up. I wanted to get a better paying job, and then I think it was like November, 2 months into our boot camp, and Meta laid off 12,000 people. And then it was like Microsoft and Alibaba, all these companies just started laying off people from overhiring during the COVID period, where everyone's over consuming content. And it's like your hope kind of dwindles. And again, it's one of those situations where you're like, I just spent 10 to 12 grand for this 6 month course. And I'm just kind of felt like I was lighting that on fire, like watching the ticker of these layoffs just continue to go up.
Yeah, Chat GPT into it as well.
Yeah, that wasn't like really a thing in anyone's eye by the end of 2020, or I guess up to that point, 2022. It's like, oh, AI. It was kind of like a closed beta, and then they opened it up to everyone. And now it's this whole big, big phenomenon. Um, I still think we're farther away for this, quote unquote, taking over jobs than people realize. And I think even companies are realizing with this. I mean, I know we've talked about this endless amounts of time, but it's like trying to find the right 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 balance of getting people back in, because they're still saying that the job market's strong, but it's only measured by, I think it's, at least in Michigan, it's like 4%, but that's only measured by the amount of people who are collecting unemployment. So if somebody gets denied or they reach their 24 weeks? Yeah, their 24-week uh, stipend, they're no longer a data point. So something to also keep in mind when people say it's a strong economy. It's not.
Oh, it's been teetering on this for a while in companies, and like kind of the forced recession, as I was saying. Like we weren't hiring people to replace those that we had lost. People had taken on more responsibilities, and you're kind of expecting that out of me as well. But yeah, it just recession should not exist as much as they do. Like people in power should have more willingness to kind of fight for just the common person, and either side of the aisle. They had gotten to where they were based on the backs of billionaires supporting them and their interests. And maybe if some of them care more about the environment than others, or wherever the party lines divide, but at the end of the day, they're always trying to take more from us without giving us much back. And that's kind of the long and short of it. So really needs to be something to happen. Not, I don't think there's going to be a revolution per se, but the individual can start by canceling their subscriptions, becoming more self reliant, not being sold on as much of this convenience as we had been to this point. And that's at least my ideology. Yours might differ, not you, but well, yours could too, but just the general populace could differ. But yeah, in the meantime, just focusing on things that you can control, planning on trying to plan as much as you can for the things that you can't control. And, just I hope people just keep going and keep trying and trying to find a way that works. But yeah, if somebody tries to convince you to spend 12 grand on a coding camp, you punch them square in the nose.
Yeah. I mean, I still volunteered some of my time to our boot camp just to ensure that the people who are going that understand, like, you're not 100% gonna get a job straight away out of boot camp. And I think they've even taken that kind of guarantee off their site, because it's not, their metrics were from COVID times were like, do you know what a div is? Great. Jump on board, pal. Right? Like, um, obviously not much harder, but um, I also just like talking to those folks. But yeah, use extreme caution when you're going through these data analyst or coding boot camps. It's not as easy as one would think, especially given the time. So, um, but yeah, like, I wouldn't say my plan or my outlook is necessarily different. It's a lot harder for me to kind of control external thoughts, right? Or protruding thoughts of like, how am I supposed to pay for this? Or, I got this coming up, without kind of feeling like the weight of the world's on my shoulders. But also try not to think about it that much. But when I do, woof.
Right. I think that's all we kind of had planned for this week. Sorry that we don't have more for everybody, but like I said, learning and adapting, kind of been physically and mentally dead for the better part of the last couple of weeks. So hope everybody's doing all right. Hope you had something to take away from tonight. And yeah, we will see you again soon. Any closing remarks, Brian?
Yeah, my siesta is ending. My Big Lebowski kind of walking around in a bathrobe the whole time is kind of coming to an end. So, put more focus and energy into the cast. It'll be we'll have better topics next time. That's for sure.
That is for sure. Alrighty. Goodbye, everybody.
Bye, everybody.